Okay, Boss Jagger, I want to hear about all the hunting stories, please. Of all the ones you've told us around the fireplace that only you can tell in that way. With all your incredible dogs you've had over the years, start with your favorite. Maybe start with your dad's favorite dog.
Yo, he had so many
Grandpa's
stories.
dogs.
My name is Brian Tidbury. I go back hunting from the age of about 5 or 6 to go with my dad with a backpack. And he had a dog by the name of Chatto. And Chatto was a foxhound Harrier cross. And that dog was part of the family. Now that dog we used to go regularly to the Lower Blinkwater Community hunting every Saturday. And my dad used to sit at certain places. One I remember was a point, and then the poles. And it was amazing, this dog would come and look which place he was sitting at, and then they'd put the boys in the bottom of the bush, and this dog would go and couple up with the boys. And when this dog started giving tongue, he only chased rams. He was taught from a young age, just ram spurs, not ewe spurs, and he just chased rams. And when he started giving tongue, my dad would say to me, "Boot, look at your watch, 10 minutes that ram would be out here." And I'd always think to myself as a youngster, hey, old man can just talk. Anyway, to cut a long story short, next thing you hear the dog coming closer and closer, and the ram would come. And my dad shot with a 303 those days. Time and again he chewed it through the neck, and the ram would roll. If he missed the ram, the dog wouldn't chase it any further. You just look at him like a sheep. And anyway, if you hit the ram, the dog would go there and he'd roll over the ram, over and over. And then my dad would always had a hat on. He took a hat off, some water in the hat. He said, "My boy, put some water in here." Put water in, and the dog would drink, and he'd lie there for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Off he'd go again. And that's how we went hunting every Saturday. Anyway, I developed my hunting skills. He taught me such a lot, and eventually I met up with an old man by the name of Dickie Dixon.
In Grahamstown?
In Grahamstown, yes. So I was working at Fort England those days. And we used to go out, Dickie and myself, every Saturday. By then I had also hunting dogs. At one time I had about 6 or 8. And amongst the best ones was a dog called Blackie, and then there was another one called Sally. I tried to breed with that Sally, but she couldn't have pups.
What kind of breed were they?
I don't really know. They were a combination of mixed blood.
Okay.
But Blackie was like black and tan, and Sally was like a browny color.
Reddish color, I remember that.
Yes. I actually got them from my brother Billy. And anyway, these were, they were excellent dogs. Also just chased rams. And one day we went to the Kenton area, Dickie and myself, one Saturday. And on the other side I saw this dog come with this ram. And I pulled, and I thought, oh, it's a gut shot. You just heard the bullet ricochet as though it was a gut shot. And I ran down and it up, and there was a kloof, a very deep kloof. The ram went into the kloof, and I followed it because I was very worried about my dog being stabbed. The wounded ram is very, very dangerous. And anyway, I was very, very wary, and I was walking tentatively, and then next thing I just heard, "Choop!" And I thought, oh hell, I just hope my dog was not stabbed. And when I looked, about 10 meters away from me, the dog had been stabbed in the stomach, and the horn came out near the shoulder. Was in the ram.
On his horns?
On his horns.
Jesus.
And the ram was charging at me. I've never seen such green eyes in a bushbuck ram in all my life, and his hair on his back was standing up. Now there's nowhere I could go because it was just enough room to walk in this kloof. And I had to take the gun and shoot from the hip. If I had missed it, I would have not been here today to tell the story. The ram fell at my feet.
Yeah.
Now to tell you how heartsore I was, I couldn't even move. I just took my dog off the horn.
So
and cried.
the dog was still on the horns when it
Still
came for you.
right on the horn, right to it.
Jesus.
I cried and cried like a baby.
Yeah.
I tell you, eventually I got the strength to take the dog, and I said to Uncle Dickie, even now at telling you I'm getting emotional, I'm loading this dog and I'm going to bury this dog. So we packed up. It was still about 11, 12 o'clock in the morning. And I went and buried the dog, and I made a cross for it at my house in Port Alfred. To this day I still go there. And there was the dog was buried.
And that was Blackie.
That was Blackie.
Yeah.
Those dogs, you know, I don't like bragging about my dogs, but everybody spoke about it. I used to go hunting with a bloke named Neil Bradfield, and Neil said in all his years, he was a hunter, all his years, he said he'd never seen dogs like those. The one day, another story was that we went also in that area, in the Kenton area, and I happened to wound another ram. And it was far from me. And it fell, and the dog came, and just before the dog got to the ram, it up and it went. And I barked and barked. Sally and the two chased these rams, and I went to hang and gone. So I said to Uncle Dickie, yo, those dogs, I just hope I don't get into the neighbour's place. Anyway, I said, we may as well have lunch, because those dogs won't come back now. So we had lunch, and while we were eating there, next thing I looked, and there was a pathway coming from the way the dogs had chased this ram, and here comes Sally up the path. And she gets to me, about 5 meters away from me, and she starts to bark. I said to Uncle Dickie, what's the matter with this dog now? She wants me to follow you. So I put my sandwich in that down, and I took my gun and I followed this dog, and this dog would run about 10 meters and bark and say, come on man, what the heck is the matter with you? She took me right to the bottom boundary fence of this farm. It was far away. And there was Blackie sitting on his haunches, and there was a ram in front of him. Never touched the meat.
So she
came
to call you?
Came to call me to show me where the rams is. Even to say, no, you know, we done all the hard work, and you sitting eating, and we still got to chase and catch this.
Before the days of tracking collars and things have changed, eh?
Exactly.
Brian, let me move these dogs quickly, and then we can concentrate here on the next one. Hold hang 10 for me, please. Hold on a sec, they're interrupting the show here. Many years ago, there was that famous story of when you were in the newspaper. What is the Cowie
newspaper
called?
Cowie News.
What happened there with your two
you're
famous dogs?
I'll never forget that. I just arrived in Port Alfred, and we had these dogs. And anyway, in the sea bush there was plenty of game and that. So I used to go to work, and I had a bloke named Magwala. He called him Skoens. Surname was Skoens. And he loved hunting. And these dogs had gone off, and I brought a bushbuck ram in town and chased it right into my yard. Blackie and Sally. And they cornered this ram. And Skoens shouted to the boy next door, come and help me out quickly. So they wanted to catch the ram. Now this was a town boy next door, and the ram, when it came for him, he just gave way, and they chased it back to the bush. And the dogs caught the ram there. Now anyway.
And killed it or what?
Yes, I killed the ram. Someone had reported me to the conservation blokes in Grahamstown. So the next thing, I'm at the hospital there, where I'm working, and these conservation blokes arrived there with this pushback ram at the back of their bakkie and my two dogs, Blackie and Sadie. So they said to me, "Are these your dogs?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Well, they've killed this ram."
They come to your work and tell you that.
Yes, come to the work.
Yeah.
Now I thought to myself, gentlemen, you don't want that to happen at your work. But anyway, I said, those dogs are actually taught to hunt. They won't chase you, they'll chase the ram.
Was
So
it hunting
they said,
season?
yes, but now...
Was it hunting season, was it?
Hmm?
Was it hunting season?
No, I don't think it was
Made it
hunting
worse.
season. It was even worse than that. Anyway, to cut a long story short, they said, we got to do away with these dogs. I said, no, you can't do away with dogs. I said, those dogs have come with me a long way, and I said, they like my family, those dogs. You can't do that. Luckily, the only thing that saved me, Dr. Lowe was also there, and he happened to know the one chap, and he said, no man, Brian's had his dogs, I know these dogs. And we managed to convince him to say, no, well, in future you'll have to keep the dogs in a run. You'll have to make a run, that's the only concession we will make. And I still thought I'd get a leg of the ram, but I didn't even get a piece of it. They took the ram and they went, and I had to keep those dogs in a cage after that.
Shame, man. And there was
But
actually
they were
a
never as good as, because they were unfit, man, and they
So-
used to be fit, those dogs.
And there was a write-up in the paper.
Yes,
Have you
the
still
next
got a
thing-
cutting of that? Have you still got a...
No. Yeah, the next thing, the paper used to come out on a Friday. On the front page, there was a big photo of my dogs with me.
with the ram?
Whoa, I wasn't popular in Port Alfred because they're very, very conservation mad there.
Shame.
I didn't have any option.
Oh, hectic.
So you can well imagine.
Yo.
Yeah.
And then Patch came along.
Yeah, then eventually, I didn't have Sadie and Blackie anymore, and I was looking out for a dog, and there was a bloke that had a litter of blue tick in the Bathurst area. So I went and had a look, and I said to him, that pup I want. How much you want for it? He said, yeah, but that's the runt of the pack. He said, these others, look at these others, they're beautiful. I said, no, I want that one. So he said, well, no one wants it. You can have it at a good rate.
Jesus.
So I bought that dog, and I took it from a pup, and when we go in the field, even out of hunting season, and a ram would jump up, I'd put it on a spur, and I taught it just a ram spur. And Patch grew up and turned out to be an excellent hunter. Neil Bradfield was those days a friend of mine in Port Alfred, and we used to go hunting. Neil still said to me, Brian, this is one of the best hunting dogs in the Eastern Cape. I said, no, well, I never brag about my dogs, but I know he's quite good. Anyway, one day we came to a kunga hunt, and I was invited, and there's this rich farmer, the farm belonged to him, and he was standing at a place, and Patch brought 3 rams out to him, and he shot the rams, big rams. And at lunchtime we were all sitting there, and I didn't even see him. He went and he caught the dog and he put it on a leash, and he brought the dog and he said, whose dog is this? Now this chap was riding a big Mercedes. He had all the money in the world. I said, it's my dog. I said, I've had that dog quite a while. He said, man, I want to buy this dog. I said, he said, you name your price. He said, this dog brought 3 rams out to me, and I got all 3. He said, I've never seen a dog. So I said, uncle, I said, And I wasn't very popular in saying this. I said, you haven't got the money to buy this dog. He said, what do you mean by that? He said, I'm telling you to name your price. Not to tell me about money or whatever you want. I said, Uncle, just what I've said. You haven't got the money to buy that dog. And I kept that dog, and I really don't know how many buck I shot off of that dog. Me alone. I can't tell you. I'd have to lie if I had to tell you. Eventually he developed cancer, and I could see my dog was suffering. I took him to the vet, and I said, no, I can't do anything. And old Butchie came along one day when I was on the farm outside of Bathurst. By then we were living on the farm. And he said to him, no, Uncle Brian, you can't let this dog or you'll suffer like this. And we had to let the dog go. It was also a very heartful story.
Shame. Yeah.
But those were the stories of my dogs.
Now Patch had a bit of a habit of following you to the hotel, or used to go to the hotel down the road. What was the hotel called?
Yeah, Victoria Hotel.
The Vic.
Yeah.
In Port Alfred.
Yeah. I had a habit of going from work at 4:30 and going to have a couple of beers at the hotel.
On the way home.
Yeah, and my house was just about 2 houses from the hotel. But Pat's developed the habit of coming to the hotel door, waiting for me there at 4:30. So we went in, and it used to be happy hour. So the blokes used to mix their sandwich, put their sandwich in their brandy and feed old Pat.
Yeah.
Anyway, to cut a long story short, I eventually said to my wife, Gwen, I said, no man, you know, this is getting costly now, going to this bar after work. I've got to buy a round for everybody there, and I don't really want to have so much, so I'll sooner come and have a pint at home here. So I used to come home. But it took long for a Patch to click this lot. And one day, we were standing outside having a braai on the veranda. There was about 7 or 8 steps leading up to the veranda. And I looked down Halstead Road, and here was a Patch coming from the pub. Well, Halstead Road belonged to him. He was going from side to
Left
side.
to right. He had a couple too many.
Yeah, he had too many that day. And he came up the steps, and as he got to the last step, he put his paws out like that, and he lay there. The next morning he was lying there, no Patch.
Shame.
Yeah, those are those days.
Yes. Yeah,
But you get so attached to your dogs, I tell you quite candidly that I had a lot of dogs. And that's my hunting stories. All
Sheepers, man, Uncle Brian. Thanks for sharing them. I think it's good that those get saved for us to look at in many years' time, and our grandkids, and we can tell them about this. You just can't relay a story the way that someone tells it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But thank you for sharing those.
I'm glad you listened to my stories.
No, yes, we love listening to those stories. And if there's anything else that you want to share, you're most welcome.
No, that's about what I can remember, you know.
What is the trick, maybe you can share with us, and who's ever going to, all the viewers, to shooting a bushbuck ram on the run at full tilt with the open sight 308 Saka that you've shot with all the years? What is the trick? Is it just something that comes naturally?
No, I think it's from way back that my dad taught me, you know, because he was very good at shooting a running buck. I'll give you an instance. Once we were on the commonage in Lower Blinkwater, and we were all sitting having lunch. And that same chatter brought a ram out while we were having lunch. And it was about 200-300 meters away from us, going over the hill. And everybody grabbed their guns and shot. But none of them hit the ram. And I'll never forget my dad still having a sandwich in his mouth, putting it down, taking his 303, taking his time. And I thought to myself, well, this ram is going to disappear before the old man gets shot in. Lifting his gun, shooting it, and a ram just roared.
Yes, yes.
And there was chatter on the ram.
Yes.
And I still turned to him and I said, "Hell, Dad, how did you do that?" I said, "That ram was motoring." I was still a youngster those days. And he said to me, "It's motoring like that. Its CO3 is not so fast. You take a meter and a half.
In front of its nose.
And it will run into the bullet. And time and again you'll get it more or less in the shoulder, by the heart."
Jesus.
And that's what happened. And I think I just had to practice. I remember practice on the farm, on the wash line, and putting something in and me shooting at it, a moving target. But it was all from the old man. I'm sure it's a part of hereditary that you inherit that sort of thing that you're interested in, and it's a passion for you. Then